Good morning from Second Harvest Heartland headquarters, where we are working our way through our third full month of COVID-19 response. I am Allison O'Toole, the very proud CEO of Second Harvest Heartland, and this morning I am so honored to be joined by two friends and leaders in Minnesota's agricultural community. Commissioner Thom Peterson from the Department of Agriculture. He is on his lovely porch this morning. Thanks for joining us. And Gary Wertish, President of the Minnesota Farmers Union. Good morning and thank you for joining us. I've had the privilege of knowing you both for several years and joining forces with you, and I'm just thrilled to be able to do it again this morning, even if it's via Zoom. So welcome. I'll say a few words here and then pass it off in just 2 minutes here to Gary. Farmers are critical players in the fight to end hunger. The agricultural community and emergency food system are connected by a shared goal to feed the world. As we know all too well, the world looks very different today than it did just a few short months ago. At Second Harvest Heartland, we've been in high gear, working to adapt and meet the flood of demand we're seeing as a result of COVID-19. This type of nimble hustle is well understood by our partners in the farming world. A lack of predictability in terms of markets, weather, and production come with the territory, pandemic or not. Persevering under pressure may be familiar to Minnesota's farmers, but these times are trying, even for the most adaptable among us. We're proud to work alongside farmers to end hunger in the broader communities and in their own kitchens. One way in which the ag community and Minnesota's food banks have come together is through a program called Minnesota's Farm to Food Shelf. Now in its 6th year, Farm to Food Shelf is a state-funded program that offers local farmers the opportunity to donate excess produce to area food shelves throughout the harvest season. By offsetting a portion of harvesting, packaging, and transportation costs, Farm to Food Shelf makes it easy for Minnesota growers to donate their surplus crops that would otherwise go unharvested or be discarded. In the last 5 years, generous farmers have donated 30 million pounds of produce to Second Harvest Heartland to distribute to food shelves and meal programs in all of Minnesota's 87 counties. Farm to Food Shelf funding also covers Minnesota's milk grant, which provides over $500,000 each year to purchase milk for distribution to Minnesota's food shelves and other charitable organizations. In response to COVID-19, Minnesota's 6 Feeding America food banks received an additional $1.25 million in Farm to Food Shelf funding to spend on purchasing milk and protein. Protein and dairy items are some of the most in-demand products at food shelves. As thousands more Minnesotans seek out food assistance, many for the first time, we want to make sure we can provide food shelves with the items people want and need most and that they have the toughest time affording at the grocery store. The team at Second Harvest Heartland is so grateful to the leaders who recognize that connection between farmers and hunger relief organizations and how important that connection is now. We'll continue to find ways that our work can support Minnesota's ag community. And now to share a little bit more about how farmers have adapted to this crisis and how Minnesotans can support the ag industry during this time, I'll hand it off to Gary.
Thank you, Allison. You explained it very well. You know, the one thing that this COVID-19 the pandemic really has brought forward is the importance of farmers to the consumer. But it's also brought forward that, you know, it's not only the farmers, it's the workers in the plants, it's everybody. Everybody is involved in this and everybody's important and everybody plays an important role as we get through this. You were pleased that $1.25 million you talked to. We were pleased that Minnesota Farmers Union and other groups who worked with Commissioner Peterson in our Minnesota legislature to help get that funding passed in this last legislative session. You know, we're early in the stages, you know, even though it's been a couple months, we don't really know the full extent or the damage that's going to be done to everybody. You know, you got, you know, the farmers themselves, whether they're a local selling to a local restaurant or or just your traditional type farmer just raising, your commodity crops. The damage that it's done to the price has taken our marketplace. We've really experienced it just across the board, approximately about a 25% reduction in price. So, farmers right now, whether you're a crop farmer or livestock farmers, you're just really trying to just survive this. And we don't, we're hoping they're hoping they can make it through this and survive and be part of the future. But a lot of unknowns yet, and a lot of these answers we won't know yet till the markets turn around. And as far as the people actually needing the food shelves, there's a lot of people in every community that is probably going to need it. So it's definitely a huge need that, as you're experiencing, the run on your services, we probably haven't even gotten close to getting to the, of this settling down or relinquishing. But, it's a challenge, and I think we're in this for a while yet. And, it just shows that we all have to work together to try and get through this. And thank you for your help on this. And Commissioner Peterson, he's really in the hot seat on this. And as he said earlier, he's got a new challenge every day.
Well, thank you, Gary, and appreciate it. And it's appreciate joining Second Harvest Heartland today. And Allison and Gary, people I've known for probably 20 years and partner with a lot. And I think it's really important. And as Gary said, really has highlighted the connection between our food and our our food system and how it's delivered. I get asked every day about shortages and disruptions, and it's really COVID-19 has tipped our food system upside down, and sometimes and as Minnesotans and farmers and food companies, we have to adapt very quickly and have done that. It's had a lot of challenges thrown our way. And then to look at the supply chain and how it helps those who need it the most, those who have a hard time, getting food, and it's so important that Second Harvest is able to deliver. And we have programs like Allison mentioned that we've worked on for many years at the Department of Agriculture. The milk grants, something that I personally worked on for many years, and then helped work on the creation of the Farm to Food Shelf program. And I've seen the importance of that program was to have farmers that had a lot of excess produce and not have it go to waste, but to have some help, transporting and packaging that food that would normally have gone to waste. I think of the millions and millions of pounds that we have through this program in the 6 years have sent to Second Harvest, and how important that is. And I just know the farmers personally, whether they're sending potatoes or sweet corn or carrots, how helpful that is. But I also appreciate the programs that Second Harvest helps administer that help our seniors access farmers markets and so many other things that I think are important besides food donations too as well. And so I'm just really glad to join you here today. And what, as Gary said, is unprecedented. I think every day we brings new challenges, but we also figure things out. And there's a lot of good in the world too, as well as we figure out how to help each other.
Thanks, Thom.
Great. Thank you all so much. The questions are rolling in via email, so I'm just going to go ahead and dive in so we can get to our audience questions. Gina in Montevideo has one, I think, for Commissioner as well as you, Gary. What are your recommendations for kids participating in ag programs this summer? The cancellation of the fair is a blow to them. Thoughts on keeping them engaged, please?
Well, it's something that as a parent of two 4-H kids, I think it's been something that weighs on my mind, and really work with the University of Minnesota Extension, who oversees like our 4-H programs, and talk to our FFA leaders. The FFA had their online convention this past week, but they did a great job, and it showed resilience and showed that we were able to honor those students and keep them busy and find different ways and new ways. We're continuing to look and work through 4-H and how with about 20 county fairs being canceled and many of them on the way to being canceled or postponed, and the state fair, of course, being canceled, we're looking for opportunities for students to be able to share their projects. And so stay tuned for that. We're also are looking at, are there ways to show livestock safely? And, you know, because already that we show livestock, you're able to social distance quite a bit. And so that's something that we're working on and hope to have an announcement soon.
Thanks.
One of the things, you know, with our younger generation, they're so technology advanced versus us older generation. You know, they'll certainly adapt to it, but you know, obviously it's disappointing for them not to be able to meet person to person, but you know, we'll figure this out, and you know, they'll adapt to this. And unfortunately, this is, you know, where we're at this year, and we just have to work together and get through this. So I know Farmers Union, we've been big sponsors of the 4-H and FFA programs, and we will continue to do so.
Wonderful. Thanks, gentlemen. Alan in St. Cloud is wondering if farmers are struggling themselves with hunger right now. Commissioner, I know you had an anecdote to share on this question, and then maybe we'll kick it over to Gary as well.
Yeah, I think it's really, you know, just to keep in mind, before we had COVID-19 hit, farmers had already had 5 years of down prices. We have our bankruptcies, we're in the top 5 in bankruptcies in the United States. We have almost 1,000 farmers in mediation in Minnesota. And so we know a lot of our farmers are struggling. We have a program at the Department of Agriculture called our Farm Advocate Program. We have 10 farm advocates around the state that are able to help farmers who need assistance with financial, maybe securing enough money from the bank to be able to buy food every week. And so we know that there's a lot of farmers that are struggling. I also know from talking to my own local food shelf, and I think what has always been hard for me is to see a lot of our retired farmers who live in town or maybe still live on the farm and their only income is Social Security and their rent check. To see somebody who fed the world for many years in our state, their income is low enough so that they that's their option, you know, as an important option for them. And I think it's difficult to see that, but so important that our senior population has that accessibility to their local food shelves. And so it is very difficult right now. And, you know, we continue to hope see signs that it'll improve.
And I think farmers, you know, we're always used to dealing with weather and markets, you know, with this COVID, in which you don't have any control over the weather. And this COVID-19 really is another issue that came forward and really putting tremendous stress on the farmer's livelihood. You know, whether, you know, the individual farmer, you know, we're out there and you have, usually have a freezer full of food and you have a garden. So, you know, it's not so much the worried about hunger right now. It's worried about, am I going to survive? Am I going to generate enough income to be able to make my farm payments? You know, and keep, you know, am I going to be around next year? Am I going to be able to, you know, continue, or am I going to be forced off the farm? I think that's the amount of stress that's really out there. It's a huge amount of stress that, you know, it's a tough place to be, you know, and it's hard to understand that. And, you know, there's no easy answer for that right now.
Fantastic. We have a question from one of our younger listeners, Todd, who's a 4th grader. Gary or Commissioner Peterson, how does it happen that there's so much excess in the world of farming? So why are there these extra crops that can be sent to Second Harvest Heartland? I think he's asking.
Well, I think a lot of it, I think Commissioner mentioned, it's our food supply system. A lot of that is, you know, we're set up, our food supply system is set up to run a certain way. And the COVID-19 has just turned that upside down. So all of a sudden you got milk going to a processing plant that's destined to the food industry or the school industry, which are shut down. So it's not in the right type of packaging. So that's really the problem. We're set up to run efficiently but this here COVID-19 just, like I said, turned it upside down. And you know, there's excess amount of food that's not packaged in the right form, and you just can't flip a packaging plant overnight to do a different type of packaging.
Yeah, and a lot of these fruits and vegetables, they really go on, they have like a shelf life, right? That's not like they're gonna, like a can that's gonna sit on a shelf for a long time. And so when it's ready, it's ready. And if the market's not there, or you don't sell as much this weekend, there's a couple of different things they can do. It can go into the grove and or in the compost pile, or we can donate it like through the farm to food shelf program. But a lot of times that's what happens, where the farmers, you know, haven't sold what they had hoped to sell on some of the commodities, whether it's, you know, like I said, like sweet corn or tomatoes, potatoes. And, you know, I think it's out of the goodness of farmers' hearts that instead of putting it out in the compost pile or the grove, and when we created this program, that was what we were thinking. And so this helps them get some transportation, some packaging, and also really helps a lot of people get it. But a lot of time it's that shelf life that's really important. And a lot of our supermarkets too, I know that that's a big part of a piece of donation. And so it's better to have it be donated than to go unused.
So fantastic learning for Todd on the ebbs and flows of the market. That's great. So Kelly Smith is curious, what can average Minnesotans do to help our community's farmers?
I think the biggest thing right now, right in the forefront, is to buy local as much as you can. You know, that's, you know, anytime you can buy a local, whether it's produce or protein or, you know, that type of stuff. I mean, that's immediate help, you know. And you know, the one bright spot about the whole thing here is it has really brought forward the importance of agriculture to everybody. So you know, that's
yeah. And I just say too, like, just understand like how difficult it is across the board right now for all farmers. It's just I can't think of a sector that isn't having challenges. And so it's really tough, whether it's just across the board. And so I think patience is really important, and really an understanding. But the local markets are really helpful to our farmers, and that has been a positive note. And it's created some capacity issues too for even them. But some of our local farmers can report selling 4 to 5 times their normal selling rates. Our CSAs, or community supported agriculture, a lot of them are sold out. We have a great piece on our website to see like what's available. Our signature program at the Department of Agriculture is our Minnesota Grown program, where you can go on and search over 1,000 different farms that sell locally and direct. We also, you can see which farms still have CSA shares available. And it's just really important to make that connection and help support our local communities and our local farmers.
The Minnesota Farmers Union is part of our Minnesota Cooks program, sponsored by Minnesota Farmers Union. We do have it on our website, people that have listed their excess product or stuff that they have available to sell. So it's a link to let the consumer buy direct from the farmers. So, I mean, it, you know, it doesn't fix everybody's problems, but it does help some.
And as an agency too, another thing our department's been trying to do is to connect excess product as well too with, you know, grocery stores that may be low, or supply stores on different issues. If farmers or companies have products they don't normally sell to a different piece. And so it's really right now, as we say, there's different disruptions, but trying to help our local farmers and local companies.
Fantastic. All right, so Commissioner Peterson, this one came in for you. How can we teach our kids more about how the food system works, so we're not caught off guard when our system is compromised by crisis?
You know, that's a really good question. At the Department of Agriculture, we have a program too. And I just want to remind people that, and encourage the people listening to check out our Minnesota Ag in the Classroom program. And you can go on the website there at our department. And there's a lot of great learning activities for people who are maybe live in the cities, or even in Pine City where I live. You know, very few of the kids live on farms anymore like our kids. And so it's really important, but it's a great program that we have. And there's a lot of materials there for especially K through 6 students. And so really encourage that as one thing to look at. And it's also something that's helpful right now for your kid to do. There's great materials on there as well. So I'd say that's one thing, or one place to really look that we offer.
Excellent. And just a note to everybody attending the call, we're putting all of these resources in the show notes on the Zoom call. So feel free to check that chat box if you want to gather any of these resources. Gary or Allison, anything to add from your perspective? It's about ways to kind of learn more about how the food system works and how we can make it work even better.
But with the large processing plants being shut down, it's really, really caused a lot of, serious economic injury and plus a wasteful amount of food. And, one thing at Farmers Union, we've been working for a long time, and, hopefully we can advance a more diversified processing industry, whether it's in animals or other dairy or whatever it is. That would help a lot. It would help get another group of farmers that are able to produce out there. So I mean that's one thing that we hope that we are able to come out of this and advance a little bit more local distributed processing.
Fantastic. Well, final call for question attendees, and then I would love to ask our wonderful panelists anything that you would like to leave us with, anything that we should all take away as we start another week here in Minnesota, that you would like us all to know and keep in mind.
Elizabeth, I think from my perspective, as the commissioner said, we've all known each other for a long time, and you have to find the bright spots in this horrible crisis that we're all in. And the fact that we can come together even on Zoom and be creative and raise voices and awareness about what's happening, how we're partnering. I think that has been such a bright spot. I am so thankful to both the commissioner and Gary for their help throughout this. We're going to continue to join forces, I know, but some of the partnerships, whether they be long-standing or new, this is a long-standing one. We're so appreciative, and it's going to take all of us to get through this. And so we just welcome continued help and continued interest from the public and our media as we go forth.
Thanks, Allison. Any wrap-up thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just think again too the opportunity, and and it is really, as I said, just every day is like you don't know like what curveball we're going to get thrown at us today. But in the same midst though, every day I think there are so many creative things being happening in our food system and sectors too, where companies are stepping up and doing different things, or farmers are trying unique things, and it's really exciting for me to see a lot of the positives every day too, or how people are adapting to the time that we're living in with COVID-19. So there's as Allison said, there's really a lot of interesting things, and really a lot of it from our end, from whether it's working with Farmers Union or Second Harvest Heartland, is collaboration. And I think that's what's been really important in our agriculture community, and working across lines is how we collaborate together and help each other out. And so we'll continue to do that every day and try to make the world a little better, because it's what we need to be doing right now.
The one thing we've probably taken our food system for granted. We've been able to go in grocery stores or wherever it is, and the shelves and the counters are always full and stocked. And this has brought a different awareness to us. It's identified some of the shortfalls that we do have within our processing system. And, it's also showing, it's not only how important farmers are, but everybody in the whole system is important, whether it's the workers in the processing plants or, the grocery store owners, the truckers. We're all in this together, and everybody needs a fair wage or a fair income to be able to survive this. And as a farmer, we've been struggling at low prices for a number of years now, and just trying to figure out how to survive. But it's really brought, you can look back to our parents and grandparents. They went through some of the systems, and the years back during the world wars, and there was shortages things, and very few. The vast majority of the generation we have now haven't experienced that until now. So it does give us a chance to look at that, and how can we do some changes that does make our system more secure for everybody.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic note to end on. Gary, I appreciate that so much. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you back here next week, and have a wonderful week. Thanks again.